Napoleon Bonaparte, born Napoleon de Bonaparte, 15th of August 1769, 5th of May 1821, later known as Napoleon I, was a French emperor and military commander who gained prominence during the French Revolution and achieved success in the Revolutionary Wars. He led the French Republic as first consul from 1799 to 1804, then as Emperor of the French from 1804 to 1814, briefly returning in 1815. His political and cultural legacy remains both celebrated and contentious. While he implemented enduring reforms, criticism has been directed at his authoritarian rule. Widely regarded as one of history's greatest military leaders, his strategies and campaigns continue to be analyzed in military institutions worldwide. Nonetheless, historians debate his level of responsibility for the Napoleonic Wars, which claimed between 3 and 6 million lives. Napoleon was born in Corsica into a family with Italian noble roots. Disillusioned with the French monarchy, he supported the French Revolution in 1789 while serving in the French army, aiming to promote its principles in Corsica. His rapid ascent began when he saved the French Directory from royalist rebels. In 1796, he launched a successful military campaign against the Austrians and their Italian allies, earning acclaim as a national hero. 2 years later, his expedition to Egypt paved the way for his political rise. Seizing power through a coup in November 1799, he assumed the role of first consul. In 1804, he proclaimed himself emperor to consolidate and extend his authority. Tensions with the United Kingdom led to the War of the Third Coalition in 1805. Napoleon dismantled this coalition with victories in the Ulm campaign and at the Battle of Austerlitz, resulting in the dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire. The Fourth Coalition emerged in 1806, prompting Napoleon to defeat Prussia at Jena and Auerstedt, leading the Grande Armée into Eastern Europe. He vanquished the Russians at Friedland in June 1807, compelling the defeated Fourth Coalition nations to sign the treaties of Tilsit. During the War of the Fifth Coalition in 1809, Napoleon overcame Austrian resistance, solidifying his dominance in Europe following the victory at the Battle of Wagram. Seeking to enforce the continental system, an embargo against Britain, Napoleon invaded the Iberian Peninsula and appointed his brother Joseph as King of Spain in 1808. The ensuing Peninsular War saw Spanish and Portuguese uprisings supported by British forces, resulting in defeats for Napoleon's generals. In the summer of 1812, Napoleon launched a disastrous invasion of Russia, culminating in the retreat of the Grande Armée. By 1813, Prussia and Austria had joined Russian forces in a sixth coalition against France, leading to a significant coalition triumph over Napoleon at the Battle of Leipzig. The coalition invaded France, capturing Paris and compelling Napoleon to abdicate in April 1814. He was exiled to Elba, situated between Corsica and Italy, as the Bourbons were reinstated in France. Napoleon escaped in February 1815, reclaiming power in France. The Allies formed a seventh coalition and defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815, exiling him to the remote island of St. Helena in the Atlantic, where he passed away in 1821 at the age of 51. Napoleon's influence was far-reaching, introducing modern reforms to France and Western Europe and fostering the development of nation-states. Notably, he sold the Louisiana Territory to the United States in 1803, doubling the nation's size. Despite these achievements, his inconsistent record on civil liberties and exploitation of conquered regions tarnished his legacy. The dominant influence of Napoleon's childhood was his mother, whose firm discipline restrained a rambunctious child. Later in life, Napoleon said, "The future destiny of the child is always the work of the mother." His maternal grandmother had married into the Swiss Fesch family in her second marriage, and Napoleon's uncle, the Cardinal Joseph Fesch, fulfilled a role as protector of the Bonaparte family for some years. Napoleon's noble, moderately affluent background afforded him greater opportunities to study than were available to a typical Corsican of the time. Statue of Bonaparte as a schoolboy in Brienne, aged 15, by Louis Rocher, 1853. When he turned 9 years old, Napoleon moved to the French mainland and enrolled at a religious school in Autun in January 1779. In May, he transferred with a scholarship to a military academy at Brienne-le-Château. In his youth, he was an outspoken Corsican nationalist and supported the state's independence from France. Like many Corsicans of the time, Napoleon spoke and read Corsican, his mother tongue, and Italian, the official language of Corsica. He began learning French in school at the age of around 10. Although he became fluent in French, he spoke with a distinctive Corsican accent and never learned to spell in French. Consequently, Napoleon was routinely bullied by his peers for his accent, birthplace, short stature, mannerisms, and inability to speak French quickly. He became reserved and melancholic, applying himself to reading. An examiner observed that Napoleon has always been distinguished for his application in mathematics. He is fairly well acquainted with history and geography. This boy would make an excellent sailor. One story told of Napoleon at the school is that he led junior students to victory against senior students in a snowball fight, showing his leadership abilities. In early adulthood, Napoleon briefly intended to become a writer. He authored a history of Corsica and a romantic novella. On completion of his studies at Brienne in 1784, Napoleon was admitted to the École Militaire in Paris. He trained to become an artillery officer and, when his father's death reduced his income, was forced to complete the 2-year course in 1 year. He was the first Corsican to graduate from the École Militaire. He was examined by the famed scientist Pierre-Simon Laplace. Upon graduating in September 1785, Bonaparte was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Lafayette Artillery Regiment. He served in Valence and Auxonne until after the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789. Bonaparte was a fervent Corsican nationalist during this period. He asked for leave to join his mentor Paoli when Paoli was allowed to return to Corsica by the National Assembly. But Paoli had no sympathy for Napoleon, as he deemed his father a traitor for having deserted the cause of Corsican independence. He spent the early years of the revolution in Corsica, fighting in a complex three-way struggle among royalists, revolutionaries, and Corsican nationalists. Napoleon embraced the ideals of the revolution, becoming a supporter of the Jacobins and joining the pro-French Corsican Republicans who opposed Paoli's policy and his aspirations to secede. He was given command over a battalion of volunteers and promoted to captain in the regular army in 1792, despite exceeding his leave of absence and leading a riot against French troops. When Corsica declared formal secession from France and requested the protection of the British government, Napoleon and his commitment to the French Revolution came into conflict with Paoli, who had decided to sabotage the Corsican contribution to the Expedition de Sardaigne by preventing a French assault on the Sardinian island La Maddalena. Bonaparte and his family were compelled to flee to Toulon on the French mainland in June 1793 because of the split with Paoli. Although he was born Napoleone Bonaparte, it was after this that Napoleon began styling himself Napoleon Bonaparte. His family did not drop the name Bonaparte until 1796. The first known record of him signing his name as Bonaparte was at the age of 27 in 1796. In July 1793, Napoleon Bonaparte, also known as Bonaparte, wrote a pamphlet supporting the Republic called Le Souper de Beaucaire, Supper at Beaucaire. This gained him the support of Augustin Robespierre, the younger brother of Maximilien Robespierre, a prominent leader during the French Revolution. With the help of his friend Antoine Christophe Salicetti, who was also from Corsica like Bonaparte, he was appointed as a senior gunner and artillery commander for the Republican forces that reached Toulon on 8th of September. Bonaparte came up with a strategy to capture a hill that would give the Republican forces control over the city's harbor, potentially forcing the British troops to leave. The attack on the hill was successful, resulting in the capture of the city. During this operation, Bonaparte was injured in the thigh on 16th December. His actions caught the attention of the Committee of Public Safety, who then put him in charge of the artillery for France's Army of Italy. On 22nd December, at the age of 24, Bonaparte was promoted from colonel to brigadier general and was on his way to a new assignment in Nice. He developed plans to attack the Kingdom of Sardinia as part of France's efforts against the First Coalition. In April 1794, the French army executed Bonaparte's strategy in the Battle of Saorgio and then moved it on to seize Ormea in the mountains. They then proceeded west to flank the Austro-Sardinian positions around Saorge. Following this successful campaign, Augustin Robespierre sent Bonaparte on a mission to the Republic of Genoa to assess the country's stance towards France. In simpler terms, during the time after the fall of the Robespierre in 1794, there were claims that Napoleon Bonaparte was put under house arrest in Nice due to his connections with the Robespierre. However, his secretary, Bourrienne, disagreed with this claim and said it was actually due to jealousy between different army groups. Bonaparte defended himself in a letter to a commissar named Salicetti and was found innocent. He was released after 2 weeks and was asked to create plans for attacking Italian positions during France's war with Austria. He also tried to help take back Corsica from the British, but was unsuccessful. Around this time, Napoleon started a romantic relationship with Désirée Clary, who was the sister of Julie Clary, married to Napoleon's brother Joseph. In April 1795, Napoleon was assigned to the Army of the West, which was involved in a civil war in Vendée, France. This assignment was seen as a demotion from his previous position as an artillery general, and he claimed to be unwell to avoid the new posting. This passage describes the journey of Napoleon Bonaparte from being moved to the Bureau of Topography of the Committee of Public Safety to his rise in fame and power. Initially facing difficulties in his career and financial situation, he later gets a chance to prove his military prowess during a royalist rebellion in Paris. By successfully defending the convention and using artillery to repel attackers, he gains sudden fame, wealth, and the support of the new government, the Directory. This victory leads to his promotion, marriage to Josephine de Beauharnais, and command of the Army of Italy. 2 days after getting married, Bonaparte left Paris to lead the Army of Italy. He quickly went on the offensive, aiming to defeat the Kingdom of Sardinia's forces before their Austrian allies could intervene. Through a series of swift victories during the Montenotte campaign, he forced Piedmont out of the war in just 2 weeks. The focus then shifted to the Austrians, with a significant part of the war revolving around the prolonged struggle for Mantua. Despite Austrian attempts to break the siege, Bonaparte managed to defeat every relief effort, winning key battles like Castiglione, Bassano, Arcole, and Rivoli. The decisive French victory at Rivoli in January 1797 led to the collapse of the Austrian presence in Italy. The campaign then saw the French invading the Habsburg heartlands. Despite an initial defeat in southern Germany in 1796, Bonaparte's assault prompted Archduke Charles to withdraw his forces to protect Vienna. Bonaparte managed to push Charles back and advance deep into Austrian territory after winning the Battle of Tarvis in March 1797. The Austrians, alarmed by the French advance towards Vienna, sought peace negotiations. The Treaty of Leoben and the subsequent Treaty of Campo Formio granted France control over much of northern Italy and the Low Countries. A secret clause in the treaty promised the Republic of Venice to Austria. Bonaparte then marched on Venice, leading to its surrender and the end of its 1,000 years of independence. The French were authorized to loot treasures such as the horses of Saint Mark.